welcome to SafeBet. This is D again. Going to do a recap of week 13. Went a dismal 7-8 this week. Not a good week. Fortunately, a lot of these games came down to the wire and last plays and things like that kind of altered the final outcome, but it's okay. We're going to get back on track this week, so we're just going to go over a basic recap of the games of week 13, starting with Detroit and Chicago. Chicago pretty much controlled the ball for the most part of the game, and right at the end, it's like they fumbled. Mitch Trubisky couldn't hold on to the ball, so he fumbled that, and ultimately led to Detroit winning that game outright. It's first loss. The second game, Cincinnati and Miami. Miami, I thought, controlled the tempo of the game for the most part throughout that game. Little skirmishes brought a couple of players suspended, so we're going to monitor that and see how that goes with them, but they ultimately covered in that game. Indianapolis and Houston, another one of those down-to-the-wire games where I thought Houston could have had a chance to at least score that touchdown, but they fumbled at the end of the game, and ultimately that cost that -3. Actually, I thought it would have been good if they would have converted that touchdown with a few seconds left on the clock, but that's the way the game goes. No biggie. Jacksonville, Minnesota. Jacksonville came out and played a pretty good game. Almost beat Minnesota. Minnesota, obviously, they're lacking on defense, but I thought they would get a boost, in which they did with Adam Thielen coming back, but Jacksonville still came out and played pretty good. Mike Glennon played some really good ball down for a few mishaps in that game, but he ultimately played some pretty good ball. But Minnesota came out on top with the victory, but Jacksonville came out with the spread. Next game, Las Vegas and the Jets. The Jets, they covered. You know, that was one game I said that they were going to cover. Almost put off the upset against Vegas. That last minute, I didn't understand that. Why would you blitz the quarterback and you know you need to protect the end zone? So ultimately, the coach was fired. The defensive coach for the Jets was fired for that, and rightfully so, because that was an inadvertent move. But the Jets, like I said, they're battling for first place in the first place pick next year's NFL draft, and looks like they might have it wrapped up based on these next few weeks. New Orleans and Atlanta. It's another one I said that New Orleans would take care of their business, and they did. And Taysom Hill did pretty good. Atlanta put up a good fight. They just couldn't quite convert it. But New Orleans ultimately took care of that on that end. Cleveland and Tennessee. Tennessee came out flat-footed in that game. I don't know what was the issue, but they tried to get it together in the end, but it was too little too late. Cleveland came out to be the better team on that one. And Baker Mayfield really stepped up a little bit, and he set some career goals and records for himself personally. That's another one that didn't go quite as like I planned. Next game, the Giants in Seattle. The Giants came out and put up a pretty good fight, controlled the ball, the clock. They controlled the whole narrative of that game. They put pressure on Russell Wilson where he couldn't do nothing. I mean, he was running like a chicken with his head cut off, but that's another one. We lost on that one. The Giants won that game straight outright, and they were the better team that day. Next game, LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. I thought that was a good one. The Rams came out and took care of their business. Ultimately, I mean, they just far looked more the superior team on that game. They manhandled Arizona throughout the whole game, literally. The next game, Philadelphia and Green Bay. Philadelphia woes continue. Even though they benched Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts came out, which he'll be the starting quarterback next week when they play the Saints. Carson Wentz, I don't understand. But they did right by benching him, and that's another game that came down to the end where I think that Philly could have covered, but they let Green Bay's running back get like a 70-something yard run to capitalize that, so that -8.5 was no good. I mean, plus 8.5 was no good with Philly, and that's like I say, it's the NFL is tricky. Sometimes it boils down to that one one possession. Like they say, it's a true game of inches, and that's for real, because a couple of possessions can lead to either the edge or the non-edge. And in this game, that possession led to the edge versus Green Bay, with Green Bay. So they ultimately covered that 8.5. New England and the Chargers, I wasn't surprised when New England came out and took care of their business, because like I said, Belichick against rookie quarterbacks, it's basically a no-brainer. I don't know, but Belichick has a master brain when it comes to figuring out quarterbacks' weaknesses, especially if you're a rookie. And that's what he did. He confused Herbert through the whole game. He was unsure. He wasn't familiar with the looks that New England would give him, because they were giving him different looks. They'd show one look and then they'd do something totally different. So it kind of threw him off, and he had a horrible game, probably his worst game since he's been quarterbacking in a rookie. But New England took care of that business. Denver and Kansas City. Denver came out to play with their quarterback. Kansas City, I thought, would take care of their business a little bit more, but hey, it's a division game, and Denver ultimately covered that minus 13. And next game would be Buffalo and San Francisco. So yeah, Buffalo came out and handled their business real good, like I thought they would. Pretty much a one-sided game. They controlled the line of scrimmage on both ends. I mean, just ultimately just pretty much just manhandled San Francisco through the whole ordeal. Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley, they just had their way. I mean, throughout the whole game, it was unstoppable, that pair and that duo. And Josh Allen played some really good ball, like I thought he would in that game. Moving on to the next one, Washington and Pittsburgh. Washington covered, as I expected. Pittsburgh, a lot of drop balls, a lot of mental miscommunications on offense and defense. And that Washington front seven is pretty stout. And I figured out that Washington, if they can get, they didn't even have like multiple sacks in that game. I think they had like maybe one, but there was just a pressure that they were getting on Ben that was forcing him to throw the ball quicker than normal, because he's usually getting the ball out fast. I think he's one of the fastest, if not the fastest, at getting the ball out this year, out of his hands. But that game, Washington did an excellent job on defense, covering the secondary and that front seven, as well as Washington's offense as well. They played a pretty good game, and they were the better team. And last game of Week 13, Dallas and Baltimore. Dallas kept it close as usual, but then it's like it was a total breakdown, and I can just see Dallas was like just giving up. It seemed like Baltimore just knocked the fight out of them. I don't know, I'm not sure what's going on with Dallas, but whatever it is, they're not playing as a whole solid team individual, or a solid team rather, as Baltimore, because Baltimore ultimately came out and dominated. That physicality of Baltimore is what ultimately got them over the edge in Dallas. But this is just a recap of Week 13. This is D. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And thanks for joining.